we'll just give it 1 or 2 minutes to give people a chance to log in. Right, good evening. So we are a couple of hours earlier this week, so we're probably overlapping with the end of the working day for our East Coast friends and bang in the middle of the working day for some of our West Coast buddies. So an intimate audience live, but hopefully people will have a chance to catch up on the YouTube stream after the fact. So I've just got a short agenda of things that I want to cross off, and Jack, obviously feel free to jump in with any other bits and pieces, and I'll just ask your opinion as we go, yeah?
Yes, sir, I'm right here.
So the first thing to note is obviously that everyone should by now have received their Metaverse Airdrop, which was the shirt for use in Decentraland. Obviously, at first glance on OpenSea, not the most aesthetically pleasing item, not hugely sexy or exciting in and of itself, but for people who use Decentraland and other metaverse platforms, it's something that we've been long asked for, often requested, and have now delivered. So it's nice that we've crossed that first hurdle of putting a metaverse product out there for the community. From many conversations Jack and I have had with Dynasty, that's going to be the first of many similar drops, and I think Dynasty plans to update the community on that via the announcements channel later this evening. I'm not a regular frequenter of the metaverse myself, but I understand that on each of the platforms there's different specifications for digital merchandise to be worn, and therefore they're not always fungible between platforms. So whilst the top itself is specifically for use on Decentraland, there are plans to add to that Decentraland collection and also to drop items that can be used in Sandbox and other platforms going forwards. Jack, anything to add to that?
Sure. For anybody, of course, watching or watching the replay on YouTube later, I do have a little visual on the screen for you guys. Here's a few of our members already sporting their Metaverse t-shirt. Of course, you're watching on Twitter Spaces, you can't see this, but if you're watching along on YouTube, here's our boy Paschamo, who's got his icon shirt on full display here. Guys, this is the Metaverse merch. This is the beginning of hopefully a great deal of great Metaverse goodies. Of course, this is, I think, one of like the promises, maybe not the initial promise, but indeed one of the early promises that formed out of this project would be that Incognito can very well be your partner for this evolving Metaverse universe. That's right. A lot of Metaverse goodies coming your way over the course of this project, all to our holders. So yes. Of course, right now, not too many people frequent the Metaverse, as Matt already touched on. This will likely change in due time. Decentraland, of course, is the leading, I think, leading Metaverse platform right now. We are already discussing ways to port this over to Sandbox and any other platform that's going to emerge in the coming months and years, I guess. We will, of course, that's the whole purpose of these Metaverse merch. It's to be cross-platform, so hopefully that can be neatly done as well, guys. So the main thing to look forward to is plenty of more merch like this. And of course, we heard you guys loud and clear. This t-shirt is just the appetizer, rest assured. Much cooler stuff is in the works. We are looking forward to getting you, well, as you can see, these Metaverse guys are dressed in all types of assets, from pants to shoes to hats to t-shirts to eyewear, you name it. There's plenty of traits in the Incognito collection worthy of porting over to the Metaverse. So very excited to slowly bring you guys that. But for the time being, do enjoy this t-shirt. Now back to Matt.
Thank you, sir. So Beyond that, there's a few other bits and pieces to touch off. The list that I put onto the channel was the social media engagement, the rewards for tuners that were promised last week. We are now 7 full days from when that promise was made, so I better try and make good on that one. I wanted to give you a quick overview of what myself, Jack, and Dynasty have been up to in the past 7 days, just so that you guys have full transparency on the workload and what's going on in the background. Touch briefly on the buyback so far and where that's going, and then tick off any Q&A at the end there. So first of all, let's just touch on the social media. Davey asked me on Discord earlier what the situation was in terms of comparative versus before we engaged in this new social media strategy, and what the engagement stats and uptake looks like post. The best way, in my experience and from the advice I've had from marketing partners that I work with on other projects, is to try and take a 4-week view of your Twitter engagement, and that basically tries to iron out any anomalous spikes in the data that you're receiving. So particularly at this time of year, you'd obviously expect there to be unusual patterns of behavior in and around the holidays, particularly on Christmas Day, Christmas Eve, New Year's Day, when people have had too much to eat and drink to care about what I'm rattling on about on the Twitter machine. So rather than taking a sort of 3-day snapshot of what was going on in the first couple of days that I was doing it versus the 3 days prior, and not really gleaning anything meaningful from that, it's much more useful to take a longer term or medium term 4-week view. So we are tracking it. You've probably deciphered for yourselves that my daily Twitter use is varying both in content, style, and frequency of post over the course of the last few days. The reason to do that is to try and gather data on different types of marketing approach. So one approach obviously is to take a more sort of scattergun approach, high frequency of tweets, more jovial in content, less serious, and less focused on the activities of our community and projects, and more general. The other end of that spectrum is to post exclusively incognito relevant content, and to keep it much more concentrated to certain times of day when engagement is at its peak. And then somewhere in the middle of those two extremes is going to be the sweet spot where we can make most meaningful engagement with our target audience. And we're only going to learn where that sweet spot is by tracking it over time. And so by varying the amount and type of content that I put out over a course of a number of days, and then doing the same at various points throughout the month, at the end of that 28-day period, I'll be able to look back and say, okay, what works, what doesn't work? And over the average of everything that I've done for that 4-week period, how does that compare to the whole average prior to Christmas? And then that will give us a much more meaningful view. So at the end of January, I plan to have quite a detailed, analytical, transparent Spaces session, which I'll bring a marketing expert from my in real life consultancy work onto, to basically have a look at the Icon account and say, here's what I've been doing. What do you think of it? What do the community think of it? Here's what's working, here's what's not, and get some advice for us from an expert in digital marketing about how we can better engage with our prospective community. But as of today, that's the basic philosophy. We're trying to work out where the sweet spot is whilst doing enough to make immediate improvements for January and going into 2022. Jack, hopefully that largely makes sense, but if you've got any questions or comments or additions.
Just want to commend your efforts, of course, guys. We do have a full-time, sorry, I'm echoing a little bit on your side.
Oh, sorry, let me just...
Thank you, sir. Yes, my hats off to you, of course. Commend you for the efforts. Yes, we are certainly trying a few different things, throwing a few different things at the wall, seeing what sticks. Well, of course, parse the data, the performance of these efforts in due time. But I sincerely appreciate what Matt is doing. This is how we raise our profile and clout on Twitter. Of course, guys, if you do want to help us, I know so a few people have actually reached out to see what we can do beyond just tweeting and retweeting and commenting and basic support. I guess we still have to think of that. But in the meantime, yes, please, I encourage you all, hit the like button, hit that retweet, engage with the posts. If you do find them interesting, do let us know as well if you have any feedback at all. Back to Matt.
Thank you. So yeah, I should actually make mention that there have been a number of very enthusiastic and kind people reaching out via DM and on Discord just to say that they're ready and waiting when we do have jobs for the community to get involved with and to help out with. Like I say, we're in the testing phase at the moment. We're trying to work out what works best. It varies from product to product, company to company, platform to platform. So even though I've got a pretty good idea of where we need to get to with the Twitter stuff, it would be nice to fine tune that and have a firm marketing plan in mind before we start throwing additional people and resource at it. So we're just in that balancing phase right now. Like I say, we'll have a full analysis of that at the end of January with a professional who I'll bring in to have a chat with us about it, which some of you might find interesting for your in real life jobs anyway. And then beyond that, that's the time when we'll bring in additional help from within the community to really get things moving. So that's part of what I've been up to day to day. I just want to touch on team workload. So I'll start off just with an honest overview of what I'm up to. Jack can tell you what he's up to, and then we'll just touch on some of the stuff that Dynasty's working on. So in addition to the Twitter, which is obviously interesting stuff but doesn't take up my full consultancy hours for Incognito. So in the meantime, I've been working on a number of things. The first is tangentially tied to the rewards that I'm going to touch on later. But basically, the long and short of it is that part of the marketing effort that I want to achieve, and we spoke about this in the last AMA, is that beyond the basic vanilla tweeting and engagement with our prospective community, I want to actually make meaningful new relationships with other communities within our Web3 space. So that might involve reaching out to 10,000 people who follow a Web3 gaming platform, or it might be an established NFT art collection that has 15,000 followers who are much more valuable to us than 600,000 followers of some influencer who happens to like their content on YouTube or whatever it might be, because that's 15,000 people who have already bought NFTs from that collection and are interested in digital art. So making meaningful connections with new communities through collaborations, through giveaways, through partnerships, through cooperations is a big thing on my to-do list. So throughout the course of the last 7 days, I have been basically plotting collaborations and partnerships with various artists. I'm pleased to say, I'll come on to this in a little while, but I'm pleased to say that 2 of those are now officially in the pipeline. I'll explain what that means in the context of our marketing plans and also for rewards for our holders in the short, medium and long term when we come to that section. Beyond that, there's also an opportunity, like I say, to go beyond the art and into other Web3 areas such as gaming. And I had a productive half-hour call with the leaders or the leadership team of Influence, the space blockchain game, basically to explore whether or not there was anything that we could offer them in exchange for them offering something to us that would be useful to both our and their communities. The answer is yes. They're keen to reach out to us. They very much like, ironically, going back to September, they very much like the space launch. They like the marketing that went around that. They like the art in our collection, specifically in relation to the space helmets and the gas masks, and think that might be a cool co-marketing angle that we could use. But they're very early in their development process still. They've sold out a huge number of the NFTs on the game, but they're still in beta testing mode. They're still scoping out the rest of their storyline, etc., etc. But to give you an idea of the scale of this game, there's 250,000 asteroids within the metaverse that they've created for this game. And relatively recently, a single one of those asteroids, albeit one of the larger ones, sold for in excess of $200,000. So this is a genuine project with huge, huge upside usage potential. And people within this community, even working on operations of that scale, are happy to have meaningful conversations with NFT projects that want to talk about how they can reciprocate and how they can work together to support each other's projects, rather than just talking about what can you give us so that we can shill in return. So that was one example of a half-hour chat that I had with that team this week. There are basically hundreds and hundreds of those conversations or potential conversations to be had all throughout Web3, whether it's in gaming, art, DeFi, or any other space. So I guess what I'm saying is I'm not only having those conversations, but I'm scheduling those conversations, and I expect to have 100 of them in order to go and find 5 that are worthwhile opportunities and that would be meaningful to our community and give the community something to get excited about. But it's something that's going to take time, but it is taking up a big proportion of my working day seeking out those meetings, having those meetings, and then plotting afterwards what it might look like to actually try and take those forwards. But in between doing that, speaking to the artists for our new collaborations, I'm also exploring opportunities within digital and real world art galleries to try and get more eyes on our project from a collector's perspective. As some of you will recall from last week's AMA, we had a successful display at the Ethereal Collective's gallery in London in December. They've got more events upcoming globally this year, but there are others of its type that we also want to try and engage with where we can get our art displayed digitally. But there are also emerging demands from traditional galleries, whether that's MoMA in New York or the Tate Modern in London or any number of galleries around the world. These places are, by demand, going to have to start referencing the NFT art space, because so much of what is spent, collected and viewed within the art world globally now is going to be done via this NFT community that we've collectively built together. So we want to be at the forefront of that. Our art deserves to be at the forefront of that when traditional galleries start to reach out and say, okay, we need to be meaningfully involved in this. And so whether it's via email, phone call, begging letter, whatever it might be, I've been attempting to make sure that we're in the list for as many of those galleries as we can be, so that when the conversations start to come around, we're the first phone call. So that's a big part of it. And then finally, there are a couple of whales within our community, I'm pleased to report, who have reached out, who have their own projects, very successful projects, whether it's in DeFi, tokens, whatever it might be, who are keen to find out how they can support the project, make introductions, make collaborations and partnerships that can help drive this forwards. Jack and I have been discussing one such project with one of our royal whales. I know that Jack has asked for me to have a meeting with him and one of our other collectors over the course of the next week about whitelist spots for another project. So between all of those bits and pieces, that's been enough to keep me busy. And that's what I've been up to. So I'll talk more to the artistic collaborations and rewards and how that's going to help with our marketing strategy shortly. But Jack, in the meantime, do you want to just give people a bit of an overview of what's going on in your world at the moment?
Absolutely. Thank you for that, of course. So guys, what am I involved with? All right, well, first order of business, something I'm very excited, something we've all been waiting for, Coinbase NFT. No promises yet, guys, but I do have it in. In fact, I've been kind of nursing this connect for about a month now. You guys know that our collection was kind of troubled with the preview turned around the wrong way on OpenSea. Now that we're kind of regaining our footing in 2022, guys, I'm preparing to finally make that connect, right, guys? So stay tuned. I'll have more details soon. But yes, the Coinbase NFT thing is one of my top priorities for Q1 2022. Coinbase NFT, well, might very well be launching. This marketplace might be launching this year. It would be terrific to, of course, get exposure to what could be an even bigger marketplace that OpenSea offers once this Coinbase NFT thing opens up. So very excited to get in on that, guys. I think that might be one of the most game-changing developments in our project if we can get ourselves onto Coinbase NFT. All right, what else? Infinite objects, of course, guys. Those are trickling out. I did get fresh funds from Dynasty. Dynasty topped up my expenditure account. So I am now handling everybody's infinite objects orders. Of course, the everybody I'm referring to is the people who we've already made an arrangement where I place the order for you and we mail it to you. If you are still owed an infinity object, you check your DMs, because I've reached out to everyone who is eligible for one. Maybe a third of you have not yet responded to me. I'm going to nudge you again. But in there, you'll find instructions. So you can either, of course, place your infinite objects order yourself, and I will compensate you. Check the message for details. Alternatively, reach out to me. Let me know if you're an international user, and we have alternate arrangements for you. So be sure to look into that if you're on the pending list. So infinite objects moving along swiftly. What else can I update you guys on? Well, I got some cool media coming your way. You know me, I'm always working on videos and Photoshop, so I do have some fresh media coming your way, as well as you guys know some of the videos that I do like to produce. You know, music and icons abound. My plan is to produce like maybe one simple one a week, maybe even do like a mini contest in the server, guys, where you can, you know, your icon can win, so to speak. So we'll make like a bespoke video in my style, of course, where you can maybe pick the music track, tell me what icon you like, and I'll make the brief, you know this, you know the drill, guys, like a 45-second clip with an icon spinning, maybe bouncing to the tune of your chosen track. Looking forward to developing, like I say, these kind of videos on the regular, kind of catering to our community a little bit, and at the same time finding a great opportunity to repost them on TikTok. Yes, I do want to attack TikTok a little bit on the social media front. I think I can do that successfully by, you know, forming some of these videos that you've seen me do. Beyond that, what else? What else? Well, I'm making custom emojis for you guys in the server. Of course, if you're one of the more prominent users in our community, you might have already noticed. I do reach out to you guys, and I do generate people custom emojis in the server. What else? Man, probably a great deal more because I'm here pretty much around the clock. Oh yeah, Poker Room. You guys check out the Poker Room? Yeah, check out the Poker Room channel. Lots of fun poker games going down. We've just been playing amongst ourselves for the last week or so. Good times, good times. Look forward to it because we are going to be doing a more formal tournament in the near future. Details to be announced. But if you do enjoy a little bit of the poker tournament, maybe some interesting blockchain-based prizes to come your way, be sure to join the Poker Room and get familiarized with our Poker Now app. All right, that's all. That's it. I'm not going to ramble for too long. There's likely other things, but let's keep this agenda moving.
Thanks, Jack. And then I don't want to speak too much for Dynasty because I think he's going to do an announcement later this evening with regards to a few outstanding bits, such as merchandise, finishing up the Christmas rewards, and then a bit of an update on some other bits and pieces with regards to future metaverse endeavors. But I do know that he has been edging closer to fulfilling some of the outstanding merch so that we can crack on with other bits. So I mentioned earlier on the Discord that the hats, we finally got hold of sort of appropriate merchandise quality for those, and they have been readied for embroidery. That last I heard, they were being sent for that so that they could be delivered ASAP. Beyond that, the chains, I understand, are all completed and awaiting shipping, but I don't know what the hold-up is there. There was some sort of communication issue with the jeweler, GLD store, I think it is. So he was going to resolve that and update, so I expect we'll get some information on that this evening. And then, yeah, with regards to the metaverse, I think this is kind of a bit of a passion project for him because, like Jack said, ever since the beginning, there's been fairly steady trickle of demand from the community to have meaningful metaverse utility. Obviously, you know, the preferred route to have that would be to have a huge plot of land in Decentraland or Sandbox or one of these major gaming platforms. But I think a good first step is to have merchandise that can get our brand and our name out there and give people something to use whilst using their normal metaverse engagements. So I think he's going to talk a little bit to what we might be able to expect in terms of future airdrops from him or from the project on a delisting basis, but I'll leave him to get into the detail of that later, which I think leaves me with the responsibility of talking a little bit about how we plan to reward our existing holders, which is something I promised to do last week. So you know that I am not hugely fond of reward structures that create short-term pumps. I'm also not hugely fond of reward structures that handpick single winners from a community of 3,000 odd holders, because I think every time you reward one person, you disappoint 2,999 others. And I also don't want to create workload for Jack, who is flogging his guts out 24/7 for the project, only to have more stuff put on his plate by an ill-conceived giveaway or reward program that I came up with without really thinking through the details on. So the plan for me is to create a structure that allows us to regularly and on an ongoing basis reward our most loyal holders, and do it in a way which is relatively low effort and good for the project, such that the money being spent doesn't just reward individual holders, but also rewards the project overall. So how do you do that? You create a reward structure that allows you to, every ETH that you spend, brings with it rewards, but also brings with it publicity. So the easiest way to do that, and I think the preferable way to do that from both a holder's perspective and from a project exposure perspective, is to have collaborations with other established high quality artists within the space. So to give you an example of a project that I'm currently working on and that I'll be delivering, I hope, as our second example of this type of collaboration. I happen to be very close friends in real life with an established artist whose physical art sells for exorbitant amounts of money, sells rarely because he paints rarely. He is an ex-UFC fighter. I won't give you his name yet because we haven't signed anything, but I'm confident that it's going to get done. He's ex-UFC. He retired from the ring going back 4 or 5 years, possibly more, and is now living off-grid with his wife and 3 kids on the south coast of England. And when I called him to discuss this, genuinely had no idea what an NFT was, but has a back catalogue of the most extraordinary artwork that just isn't available within our space digitally, because he doesn't even know the concept of how he would make it available. What he does have, however, is a very successful sibling and a network around that sibling of e-gaming influencers with huge followings across social media channels. So what we're talking about with him is the concept of us minting his artwork out to our community, and to support his art, having that network of influence around him talking about that whilst it's happening live, and then talking about it retrospectively to promote his art and to promote the project which is supporting his art digitally. So by doing that, not only are we in a position where we're allowed to send out completely unique digital art to our holders that cannot be acquired anywhere else on the web, minted by us, distributed by us in limited numbers of series, but we also get the promotional support of doing it for someone who wants to go out and reach out into that space with the support of an existing marketing network around him. Similarly, if we were to approach an existing NFT artist with an existing following and a community of 15, 20,000 people on Twitter like ours, immediately by collaborating with that project, what we're doing is doubling the audience of the announcement. So when we go and announce this morning that we've distributed some Metaverse merch, and we tweet it to our 15,000 followers, and a couple of thousand people see it, and it creates another 2,000 impressions, well, all of a sudden we double all of those numbers by working with an artist of a similar size who's also got a network of people who are interested in our art as we are in theirs. And in doing that, by collaborating with them, not only do we create that exposure, but we're also able to take their art and put it into the wallets of our holders as a reward for being loyal and for taking a meaningful long-term investment in our project. So there's a lot of opportunities of that nature. I'm very excited to get going on the second one, but I'm also very proud of the first one, because the first piece of art that we're going to be distributing is from someone within our own community, Paschamo. And Pash has distributed to me a fantastic one-of-one piece of work and allowed us to mint multiple copies of it. And it's going to be done as follows. And this will apply to all of these similar types of collaborations that we do. So we have, as you know, 5 ranks of holder: Nemo, tuna, shark, whale, and royal whale. We have at any given time the holder numbers for each rank. And as you can imagine, the number of each rank decreases as you go up. So at any given moment, we might have 100 odd Nemos, 60 or 70 tunas, 50 sharks, 20 whales, and 5 or 6 royal whales. We will mint in those numbers. So to give you an example in the context of what's happening right now, Paschamo has provided a piece of work to us. It's going to be minted out in 5 different colors. The Nemo edition will be a 1 of 100. The tuna will be a 1 of 60. The whale will be, the shark will be a 1 of 50. The whale will be a 1 of 30. And there will only be 5 in existence of the royal whale. And once that mint is done, once the snapshot's taken to decide who's going to receive each of these collaboration projects that we do, that snapshot will be done. We'll mint that exact number and distribute to those wallets only. And we will never increase that. So becoming a tuna 3 days later will be irrelevant. It's at the point of the snapshot. That will be the number that we limit each mint series to. So in the first case, I'm going to, if anyone's got the Discord in front of them as we're talking, I'm going to upload a copy of Paschamo's art because I love it. And anyone who says they don't love it is banned. This is the Nemo edition of what's going to be dropped out. There's going to be a tuna edition, like I say, a shark, a whale, and a royal whale. And they're going to be increasingly rare as you go up the series, and everyone's going to receive a copy of this minted from the Incognito Special Editions vault. A few weeks down the line, similar will be done with my friend's project. His is actually going to be 5 distinct images, one for each of the different ranks, rather than 5 different colors, but the same principle is going to apply. It's going to be rarity ranked such that the royals will be a 1 of 5, the Nemos will be a 1 of 120, or whatever it will be. And we're going to continue to do this. And each time we're going to work with the collaborating artist and their network to make sure that there's maximum exposure for our benefit and theirs, such that every time we're working on one of these drops and one of these rewards, there's going to be associated benefit for the project and not just for the holders. So that's the long and short of it. That's what we're planning to do in terms of short-term rewards for Nemo and up. It means that we can reward all layers of our community rather than just concentrating on one at a time. And it means that when we're spending money to achieve these things, it's the benefit of the overall community rather than just the individual. So that feels like quite a long-winded explanation. Hopefully I've been clear in what I'm trying to achieve there. But Jack, have you got any, have I missed anything there? Anything that you want to add?
No, I don't think so. If anybody was watching along on YouTube, I, of course, presented the Pasha's custom, is well, a wonderful piece of art, of course. And yes, so this is what we will be distributing per that rubric that was just described. Is there anything else to add? No, I don't think so. Yes, if there's anything unclear at all about that explanation, guys, do let us know. Let's continue.
So the last thing on the agenda from me, you'll be pleased to hear, as we're half an hour in already, is that I just wanted to give a brief update on the buyback. I've touched on this many, many times now in the Discord, so no need to bang the drum too hard, but we're not in a rush. We've got the spreadsheet together. There's 45 floor icons sat in my wallet that don't belong to me. They're on the burn spreadsheet. Jack's got a similar number. Dynasty's got a similar number, slightly more. I think we're edging up towards 150 bought for the purpose of burning. They're all going to go to the burn address. But the bottom line is that we've been very, very slow. And if we hadn't been, we'd have got half as many because we'd have rushed in, spent 5 or 10 ETH, sweeping the floor up to 20, only to watch people dump it back down to 0.04, and we'd be out of bullets. And we'd be relying exclusively on the royalties. Now, the royalties are set in stone. Dynasty's announced it 5 times in a row. I've announced it. Jack's announced it. We're going to be using the majority of royalties from this project to buy back and burn the floor for an indefinite period of time until we're comfortable with the price and until the community's happy and it's self-sustaining. So that is going to happen. But in the meantime, Dynasty's committed funds above and beyond that as an initial engagement for this project. And what we're not going to do is waste those initial funds by just sweeping the floor up, allowing it to crash back down in our face. There are still members of this investment community that are holding this project, trying to flip it from 0.04 to 0.06. We're not going to give them that 0.02 on a plate. We are going to buy as many Incognitos as we can for the initial sum of ETH that we have to work with. And beyond that point, it will turn into a monthly sweep where we just buy what we can with the royalties that we have. But until then, patience is the key. No one who's listening to this call and cares enough about the project to listen to me for half an hour is worried about what the price is going to do today or tomorrow. Everyone's invested in this for the 6 to 12 month outlook of 2022 to really take this to where it should be, which isn't going from 0.05 to 0.2, it's going from 0.05 to 2. Anyone who cares about that doesn't care about whether the floor is 0.05 or 0.07 today. I don't care about it, you shouldn't care about it. What I care about is making this project what it should be, and to do that, the best way to achieve it is to take as many icons off the floor as we can and to create genuine momentum and to thin out paper hands from the community for the long term. So that's what we're going to carry on doing. We're edging up to 150. We're going to get that to 200 to 300 type of bracket, all in good time. And then beyond that, we're going to continue to commit the majority of royalties going forwards until such time as where we need to be. So that's about it from me. Jack, before we move on to Q&A, have you got anything to add?
Not really. Just remember, guys. Yes, as much as it would be satisfying to see a more extensive sweep in a shorter period of time, this is probably the best way to deal with the paper, all those paper hands out there. Like Matt described, we don't want to. We don't want to indulge these guys for their little 0.02 flips. We are going to strategically deploy what funds we have, and so far it's been working great. We really have been hoovering up, a great amount of icons at well, solid discounts. So let's, in some ways, let's encourage the paper hands to yes, to kind of play into our strategy here a little bit. We're not going to indulge them. We're going to do it our way. And yes, it seems to be moving along nicely. So well done there. Let's continue.
So look, that's it from me for this week. I think, like I say, that at the end of January, I'd like to have a call that goes into our marketing strategy in more detail and also touches on other parts of digital marketing in general for people that would find that interesting and useful in their day-to-day jobs or lives. I'd also like to put together, like we were talking about last time, some sessions on different subject matters, whether that's traditional finance, DeFi, tokens, real world art, whatever it might be. But for the purpose of this week, it's just an AMA. So I think we've covered most of the stuff that we want to cover. I'll invite questions in a second. Next week, we're going to have something quite interesting to talk to, which is at least one, probably two community derived projects, whether that's a whitelist or a token project that we're looking to get involved with, that we can have those speakers come on and explain to the community what it is that we're working on and whether it might be of interest to you guys by way of utility for owning an icon. But for now, that's it from me. If anyone has any questions, feel free to raise a hand or to quickly type something out in the Ask Us Anything channel. Otherwise, we'll give it a minute or two and then wrap it up.
All right, here's your opportunity, guys. Feel free to raise your hand in the Twitter Spaces. If you got a question, we'll get you right in here. Beyond that, I'm gonna give you guys an opportunity to join, and I'm gonna read out at least one comment or question here. Let's have a look. Juicy Taco, I'd like to suggest using more hashtags on Twitter. They're not just dumb gimmicks. They're a useful tool in reaching the audience you need to reach. All right, more hashtag suggestion from Juicy Taco. Noted. 0x12fab. Is there anything regarding community buildup and marketing, as well as internal project management, you believe we could learn from in terms of the success of BAYC? That's the, I always say Bathing Apes, Bored Ape Op Club, and their derivatives. All right, so do we have something we could learn from there? Have you taken anything meaningful away?
Yeah, look, first of all, they are, with good reason, the most successful project in our space. Their art's interesting, their community is just relentless, and as a result of those two things and timing, which is that they launched prior to the start of one of the greatest bull markets of all time, they have become a tremendously successful project. Nothing that I'm about to say detracts from that. I'm not salty about it. I don't own any. I also wouldn't short any. I think that, it's a fantastic project with a fantastic community. There is a growing trend of people reading the tweets of someone with a Bored Ape Yacht Club avatar and mistaking it for some sort of high-level business or philosophical advice. These are people that bought an NFT project just like ours at the right time and collectively held on to it. The answer to why they're so successful is that they have a very committed community of holders who held throughout a bull market. Now, if you go and look at the Twitter engagement of Bored Ape Yacht Club or the marketing strategy of Bored Ape Yacht Club, all of the phenomenal things that they do for their community are born out of commercial success after the fact. No one was throwing Vegas parties or doing $20,000 daily giveaways when the project was at 0.08. So I think we need to always be mindful of the fact that we are, in effect, a startup, right? We're largely where we were in August of 2021. That's as a result of potentially things that could have been done better, but also the fact that, unlike them, we launched at the peak of the bull market, making it very difficult for us to build that momentum. So that's not to disparage anything they've done. They're a fantastic community and they've got a fantastic product. But I don't think that what we want to do is say, why aren't we doing what Bored Ape Yacht Club are doing, or should we be doing things that they're doing? What we want to do is treat this like a startup business and say, look, there's fundamentals here. Do we have a good product? Yes. Are we approaching that product in the right way? Potentially not. Let's explore how we could approach things differently from a marketing perspective and from a community perspective. And hopefully you guys have seen over the course of the last couple of weeks that our approach has been completely revolutionized. Myself and Jack Jack's always been engaged, of course, but Jack's being given autonomy to deliver on things that he didn't have the opportunity to deliver on previously. I've been given a great deal of freedom to do things as I please from a marketing perspective and from a networking perspective. So there's a lot of good stuff going on, and it's all stuff that a startup company should be focused on. And like I touched on last week, if you're a startup brokerage, don't try and be Goldman Sachs next week. Be the best brokerage in the space and then worry about where you're going after that. That's the philosophy that we're applying here. That's not to take anything away from the larger collections who are doing a great job. It's to say that we are where we are. I'm confident that the approach we're taking is putting us on the right track. And I'm very confident that patience will be the key to success with this project. So that's a long-winded way of saying, great deal of respect for these larger projects. I don't necessarily think they're the ones we need to learn from short term. What we need to learn is the mistakes that we've made and how to correct those going forwards.
All right, well said. If I were to add, one piece, what have I taken away from Bored Ape Yacht Club? Is that that's a project that floundered in its early months of existence. But I understand that there was a core community there, and I think that's one of the main parallels I see between us and them. If I were to draw any parallel whatsoever, it might be very few. It might be that yes, we've ostensibly struggled in the last couple months, but nonetheless, nobody's deserted. Well, none of the key, I think, people have deserted this project just yet. The personalities are all still established here and regulars within our community. I like to think that, by having carved out this core group of supporters, quality people, the guys who are here right now, still supporting us in the Twitter spaces, watching the replay later, you know who you all are. We have a diehard community. And I think our commitment, our resolve is unwavering. And this is the core. This is the kind of core I think Bored Apes, for instance, had before they were able to springboard to greatness, right, guys? So as long as we keep the vibes real and we all have these quality people aboard, Matt is one such example. When we continue to attract, high caliber people, I'm confident if we just remain on course and keep plugging away at it, guys, we might very well see a similar, Cinderella success story in the space after, maybe a bit of a struggle in the first few months. So if there's any parallels, that would be one of them. Let's continue the next question. Here we go. One of the last ones for today. Let's see here. Please, Matt, say something. Okay, well, that's more satirical. Let's have a look here. That's Bananas writes,
Just sorry to interrupt. Just before you come to that, I think we've skipped one from Blast, which is quite an important one just above that, which he asks, will you also get the ones below you, like tuners will get Nemo rewards, sharks will get tuners? This is quite important. The answer to that is no, because we want to create scarcity at each level, but increasing levels of scarcity all the way up, right? So if you're thinking, well, I could just split my wallet in two and get twice as many tuner rewards, you would, but you get twice as many Nemo rewards as you would for getting one tuner. That's true, but the Nemo rewards will be less scarce. So remember what I said, there's like 150 Nemos, 70 tuners, 30 sharks, whatever it might be. It scales up like that, like a pyramid. And so by achieving each level of ownership grade, you're moving yourself up the rarity ranks when it comes to these artistic airdrops. So Blast, no, you won't get the ones below you, but you'll get a more rare one than the Nemos are as a tuner. And a shark will receive a more rare one than you will as a tuner. So each rank that you go up of the ownership, the airdrop will become increasingly rare. And so effectively, you're getting regular drops of rare NFTs, and more rare the more stages up the ownership scale you get.
All right, well said. Thank you. Covering Blast's question. Let's get into this one from That's Bananas. It's a very brief comment. He says, if you set a concrete date or deadline, please abide by them. We've had a problem with that in the past, and that loses confidence in the project and team. Absolutely, guys. I'm very sorry for, we might have fallen through a few times. Of course, this is something we're working on. I'm very diligent, guys, and so what's within our control, we're doing our best. Thank you. That's Bananas. I agree. Having clear timetables is important and abiding by them. And you may have noticed we have made an effort to kind of cease setting concrete timelines on things that we're not 100% sure that we can deliver in a timely basis. So it's been certainly taken under regard. Stunner.eth, can we expect to get Dynasty on Spaces at any point? It'd be good to hear from him. Also, great job to you two. I love the fam, and this is awesome. Dynasty did respond below. He said, unfortunately, I couldn't make this, but I promise you guys I'll be on the next one. It won't be long before the next one is programmed. Actually, I just got plenty of cool meetings today. Potential collab partner. All right, so a little bit of a detail here from Dynasty. He is not joining us on the air today. He will be hopefully in one of the future Twitter Space events, but he's still diligently working on our behalf, making connections and, yes, worthy collabs. That would be Dynasty's comment to Stunner's question. Paschamo is with us in the chat as well. Great, guys, getting on track. Thank you, Mr. Paschamo. Let's see here. Great answer to my question, says Zero.
Sorry, Jack. I just forgot something very exciting that I need to drop into this, because I want everyone to hear this, right? Paschamo reached out to me and I said to him, look, how can we reward you for helping us with this first airdrop for our holders? And I'm going to embarrass him by telling you that he wanted to do this completely free of charge. He wanted to help us out, get the first airdrop out to all of the different 5 grades, and wasn't going to charge the project a penny. But as it happens, in conversation with Jack and Dynasty, the way that we're going to do this is that each and every time we do one of these artistic collaborations for a giveaway of rarity rank to all of our different 5 grades of holders, we are going to work with our artist, Anuxa, to create a one-of-one collaboration piece between our respective partners, right? So it's going to be an icon head. Just imagine, for argument's sake, a 1T plastic head with no traits whatsoever. But onto that head, we will superimpose the work of our collaborating artist. And to celebrate this first edition that we're going to do with Paschamo, and that our holders are going to receive such a fantastic piece of art with him, Pash, as a one-time thing, we're going to airdrop you, once it's completed, this one-of-one Incognito times Paschamo collaboration piece of art to say thank you for not only the art, but for your generosity to the community and your ongoing support. So thank you very much.
Indeed. Kudos to Paschamo for stepping up and coming up with what will be a genuine piece of art to our holders. Let me get back into the AMA portion. Let me see here what we have left. I think this will be one of the last questions. Dave says, compliment my delts. Well, there you have it. Let's see here. You're the man, Paschamo. Yes, he certainly is. All right. I think that's it. Matt, did I miss any questions in the AMA section? Anybody here want to join us on the stage?
Okay, so it looks like everyone's sensibly deciding to get back to their day jobs / families / get an early night in Europe. So thank you very much for taking the time to tune in as ever and for the feedback. Hopefully we've spoken to everything that we promised, and that promise of further rewards for all scales of ownership will satisfy the question from last week. I hope that gives people reason not only to continue to support us by holding their bags, but also to consider leveling up to the next rarity rank, because these airdrops are going to be worthwhile. So thank you very much for the time. Any follow-up questions, hit me up in the chat. I'll be around for the next hour or so.
Wonderful. All right. If you missed any part of this Twitter Spaces session, be sure to check out the replay on YouTube. The link, of course, is in the tweets, in the server, in the announcements channel. I'll also be timestamping this in due course. So if you want to easily reference this on the replay, look forward to those. All right. Not a whole lot more to add. Thank you to everybody who joined us today. A solid 50-minute AMA session. We'll likely be back in another week. Thanks again to Matt. Thank you to everybody who joined us. Thank you to Itchy.
Thanks, Jack. Cheers.
It's been a great one, guys. Much love to you all.